Alright, this is part 2 of a video where I'm explaining why MBA students are oftentimes required to take microeconomic theory. In part 1, I set up some reasons for this and I set up a scenario. I would like to continue that scenario here to show you how it's useful to be able to build an economic model from scratch. Doing that will give you insights into your customers, insights into how they think. It will help you in meetings where there's disagreements about what to do, because you can lay out the phenomenon in those disagreements in a way that's just very carefully thought through. So let me reset up the scenario. The scenario here is that we have a company run by 2 co-founders. This is Elizabeth and Ed, and they have a disagreement about how to use the money that they got to invest in the company. Oh, and by the way, this is an app. It's an app they're trying to develop that they hope will take off. Ed thinks they should invest the money in advertising. Ed is worried about the competition and wants to get more people on their app faster. Elizabeth, on the other hand, has heard from some friends or some people who recently downloaded the app that it was really frustrating for them to use the app, so they gave up. And in which case she is worried that a lot of the people who will come in through the advertising will not stick with the app because there's some kinks that the developers have not yet worked through. So her strategy is to use this money to hire developers to make the app more smooth and to work through some of the kinks that are frustrating new customers. Now, Ed's response to Elizabeth is that those are just anecdotes. They don't bear out in the data. Most people who download the app continue to use it. In fact, a pretty high percentage relative to other apps continue to use it. So he is mad at her for using these anecdotes from a few people she's talked to drive her business decisions. But she has some arguments based on diminishing marginal benefit, which I talked about in the previous video. My question at this point is, if Ed and Elizabeth are having an argument that's getting heated, how could they use a microeconomic model to help them think through the problems at play? Well, I'm going to build a microeconomic model, and one of the cases I'm making here is that microeconomic models help you think from your customer's perspective. So if they're trying to resolve this argument, they need to figure out what is the decision our customers are making that we might want to model. And the decision that I came up with in that scenario is it's really the decision about someone who's just downloaded the app and has started to use it and has perhaps encountered some of the problems with the app. Will they continue to use the app while the developers sort of slowly work out the kinks? Or will they give up and get rid of the app? That's the key question that is sort of central in this disagreement between Ed and Elizabeth. So they decide, let's build a microeconomic model. We both took micro theory. Hopefully they had a professor who was good enough to give them experience building models from scratch. And this is going to be the model they come up with. Alright, so let's just go through this model really fast. So the thing they disagree about is how long will new users who come in through the advertisement stay on the app working through the kinks before they give up? Are they going to stick with it for 2 weeks while the company tries to work out the kinks, which might hook them on the app? Are they going to stay for 6 months with the app because they believe in the concept of the app, even if it's frustrating to work with? This question is kind of central to answering their question about, do you develop in making the app smoother or do you develop in acquiring new customers? Which one matters more? And of course, this whole model is from the customer's perspective. And this is one reason microeconomic theory is so powerful. It forces you to think through the costs and benefits from your customer's perspective of using your app. And just forcing people to get inside the customer's heads, that alone is a really useful exercise. All right, now we built the model by using a cost-benefit framework, so I probably should have started with the brainstorm session that Elizabeth and Ed would have gone through, where they said, okay, from our customer's perspective, what's going to increase the amount of time that people spend sticking with the app and not giving up, and what's going to decrease it? What is the benefit of sticking with the app for longer? And what's the cost? Like why might you give up the app really soon? So we're looking at forces that pull this length of time up, forces that pull it down, and that's the benefit cost framework. Now, when they're asking why would someone increase the amount of time they spend with the app, they're gonna just brainstorm a whole bunch of reasons. One is the social benefit, that their friends use the app and they'll be left out of the conversation among friends if they give up with the app too soon. There's also the entertainment of the app that they have to give up if they leave the app. They also have to give up a sense of hope. Like, let's say they have hope that this app will take off and sometime in the future everybody in their life will use it, and let's say they love that picture of the future, so there's a sense of hope. Now, you might notice that I have not built this one into the model. You kind of need to simplify to the most relevant factors when you're doing this cost-benefit analysis. But when you're preparing to do a model, you sort of put everything on the board you can think of. And then, of course, what's going to decrease the time that someone sticks with the app before giving up? And the key here is the frustration. And that's the main driver. Why do people stop using the app after they've already downloaded it and after they've already said, this might be something I'm interested in? It's because the user interface is not great. Now, there could be other reasons. I'm going to stick with these reasons for now. I think these reasons might be driving the scenario with Elizabeth and Ed. And the model captures this. So the most important benefits, social benefit of using the app, entertainment, those appear in our model, as does the most important cost, the frustration. And all of these are a function of the length of time you spend. The more time you spend with the app, the more social benefit you get with your friends, the more entertainment, but also the more frustration. After they've done this, they're going to put things in their model that are exogenous factors that will influence the person's decision. So this might include how many of their friends use the app. It might include what's the quality of social connections on the app. Because actually, this social connections thing, this is something they could also invest in. Now, that's not the decision we're talking about right now. You could tell your developers, spend more time making the social parts of the app more user-friendly or more fun, but that's not the decision that's on the table. It's not the center part of their disagreement. In this place, we're really focused on how many kinks are in the app over here. And entertainment, I mean, you might not even need entertainment if the app is mainly social, or you might not even need the social part of this if the app is mainly entertainment. I'm just showing you how to build a model. Now, the focus of their disagreement is the number of kinks and how the kinks in the app drive the level of frustration that people experience. So the decision on how much to invest in developers getting rid of those kinks, this is actually one of the decisions that they want to think about. So if they're thinking about, okay, how much does frustration drive people away? Well, here's the elasticities that matter. And they could go into an analysis of this that's sort of pit against the analysis of what's going on over here. So Ed might argue that, oh wait, people are going to stick with the app for longer because the social benefit of staying on the app is really high. And even if they have to work through kinks, work through the frustration of the app not working quite as it should, this benefit is so high, the marginal benefit here is so high, that people will stick with this. And of course, she's going to argue that these elasticities are much at play. And you could draw some pictures, like draw some diminishing marginal benefit, increasing marginal graphs that will help you think through this. And of course, you can connect data to many of these elasticities. All right, I think I'll stop there. Building models, it's really fun, but it can be really useful if you're in a disagreement and you want to think through what are the underlying motivational forces that motivate people whose decisions matter to you or your company or whatnot. If you're in an MBA class, I highly recommend learning the skills of developing your own models from scratch, because that skill can help you when you're in meetings with disagreements. It can really help you better understand the people involved in the decisions that the company has to make.